Reincarnation as an overpowered sword. Boring. Very, very boring. Ooh, Cat Girl! Yes, I'm on board. Cat Girl. Oof. Big, big oof. Episode 1 of Reincarnated as a Sword was a big oof for me. I was extremely excited for this series. Yes, I will admit, a lot to do with the Cat Girl, but man, I was not expecting to be as bored as I was with the first episode. Now, granted, it fixes itself towards the later part. The later part was super hype, great animation, and yes, Cat Girl, but it took a while. And then, unfortunately, a lot of people were asking for my opinion on Reincarnated as a Sword, and I was really kind of wanting to give my opinion on it. But honestly, after the first episode, I wasn't happy, and I even recorded at First Impressions. I even posted it up on YouTube. I didn't publish it yet, but it was all done. And something was hitting me. Like, everybody was saying they were dropping it. They would never watch it again. So I'm like, you know what? I need to go out and I need to find the second episode, because unfortunately, High Dive is... There's like a 1-week exclusivity in Japan, so High Dive is behind an episode every single week. So I went out and found the second episode, watched it, and that's restored a lot of my hope. And so this is my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Reincarnated as a Sword, a 12-episode series that is airing in the fall 2022 anime season. So let's jump into it. Reincarnated as a Sword, as the title would lead you to believe, opens up with a guy that gets hit by a vehicle in our modern times, it seems, and he is transported to another world. But not as a cute cat girl like he jokes about, because it opens up with him with Fran. But no, he's reincarnated as a very, very shiny sword. Like something you would see in Zelda, the last sword that you would pull out of the stone. That type of sword, like legendary looking sword. And he quickly hears a voice saying, "Man, you got a rough path ahead of you." Not really sure who that is. It seems like some sort of divine being, or possibly maybe a demon lord or something like that. Somebody's indicating that this sword is probably for something that's going to have a rough life. Well, as he's sitting here on this monument, he realizes that he has a lot of very unique skills and skill slots. Some of these include telekinesis, so he's able to move himself. He's able to share all of his skills and stats with his wielder. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a wielder. And even though some goblins come by and try to pick him up, he's like, no, I don't want to be wielded by a goblin. So he takes out the goblins and realizes really quickly that if he shatters this stone within the monsters, he's able to gain skills from them, and then he's able to apply those skills upon himself. So this turns into this big, massive job for him to go out and kill as many of the surrounding monsters and acquire their skills, and then return back to this monument. Well, eventually, as he's going around and killing all these monsters, he finds this area that he sets himself down to the ground and realizes really quickly, this is some sort of cursed ground. This ground, this soil, is draining the mana from him. So whenever he uses an ability or tries to move himself, it's draining the mana from him, so he's stuck. He's stuck for like an entire month, unable to move and just playing for anything, anybody to pick him up and wield him, because he's gonna be stuck there forever. Well, let's jump to the other perspective that we get in the first episode, and that is this girl who later we know as Fran. And this is somebody from the Black Cat tribe, and she's unfortunately being forced to labor by these guys that have this collar on her. And this collar, whenever they make some sort of command, will force them to obey. And she's really poorly treated. She's looked down upon by everybody because she's a Black Cat tribe. They're apparently a tribe that is unable to evolve. And she really, really desperately seeks to get more strength. She seeks to get stronger and stronger. You find out quite a bit in the second episode, a little bit in the first episode as well, is that her family, her parents, actually were they were going on an adventure to try to evolve. As the Black Cat tribe is kind of not really known to. Most beast tribes are known to evolve over time, but not the Black Cats. So while she's desperately praying for that moment that she'd be able to get stronger and be able to protect people and everything, eventually, the carriage that she's in is being attacked by this big, huge 2-headed bear, destroys the carriage. All the owners of these workers command them to stay still and hold the line while they flee, which doesn't work out for them. But eventually, Fran ends up stumbling upon this sword, this reincarnated person as a sword. So she quickly grabs it, seeking strength, and that's when he communicates to her. Able to, now having contact with her, he's able to speak to her in her mind. And he tells her to pick him up, equip him, and then that kind of transfers all of his strength to her, and then she's able to take out this big, huge bear. Well, she goes to leave the sword behind. He's like, no, keep wielding me. Don't leave me behind. She's like, well, they're going to just take me away from me anyways. And sure enough, the owner comes up, says to give the sword to him. And that's when this sword basically uses some sort of telekinesis to break his neck and burn the contract that she has, completely freeing her. And that was pretty much the first episode. And like I said, a bad first impression. Going in the second episode, that's when we get Fran and the sword, which she eventually calls Shisho. Shisho and Fran are traveling to a nearby village where she eventually gets introduced to the concept of the guilds, the Adventure Guild, to which she obviously really badly wants to join. This idea of becoming an adventurer was really exciting for Fran. Through the conversations between each other, Shisho ends up learning that Fran, again, is from this black cat tribe and that she wants to get stronger, she wants to evolve. And so they kind of have this bond through strength itself. He wants her to wield him. He wants to protect her because she's super cute and he's afraid that somebody will harm Fran. But additionally, Fran has this driving force. She wants to get stronger. Because she lost her parents, they kind of overexerted themselves trying to evolve. She wants to do what they left, this legacy they left behind, not being able to evolve. They go to the Venture Guild, she signs up, they have to throw her through an exam, she beats the crap out of the examee, utilizing incantationless spells and sword arts at the same exact time, which completely blows our mind, because obviously you have two minds here. She gets her guild cards, assigns her class as being a sword mage, then eventually has a run-in with a bunch of rough adventurers that the guild lady completely despises. These guys think that she's obviously cheating, that she got all this money for all this materials that she put in this kind of dimensional pocket, and they start insulting her. You get a quick idea that everybody in this village seems to insult the Black Cat tribe. And she gets super mad because of that and ends up just completely wrecking the guys. And as she's leaving the guild house, some guy, which I think is Gallus, some guy looks like a dwarf with a messed up eye, is able to identify that Shisho is an intelligence weapon, probably because he's a blacksmith of some sort. So my thoughts on Reincarnated as a sword. As I said before, first episode sucked. It was a terrible way to introduce this series. It was like probably, I don't know, I might be exaggerating a little bit. Felt like 75% of the first episode was just this guy that's been reincarnated into this other world, and he's going around and killing every monster around the area, absorbing skill, killing monster, absorbing skill, killing monster, absorbing skill, over and over and over and over again for what felt like, I don't know, 15 minutes. It was so mind-numbingly boring. It was a terrible way to introduce the show. It's kind of in the same vein as some, I still have PTSD for this. Same vein as Soma Spider So What and Reincarnated as a Slime. This whole, I don't know why they keep doing this, but these series love this idea of this fantasy of building up all of your skills and getting yourself super overpowered and just killing endlessly and getting different skills and abilities. And it's just give me a quick montage and show everything that you gained and then move on. It doesn't need to be 15 minutes of this same thing over and over again. Now, granted, the animation wasn't terrible. It was a lot of kind of just action shots with, you know, sliding stills, but for the most part, it was decent. Yes, it's a lot of CGI sword. The sword's pretty much all CGI, but it didn't look terrible, so I can give it that. But yes, the star of the show here for me, and the reason why I came to this show, obviously, is Fran. We get little snippets throughout the first episode of Fran, her getting put through crap, her protecting other people, despite the fact that it puts her in harm's way. Really does give you, make you really love Fran really, really quickly. This is this poor little girl, I think she's like 12 years old, and she wants to protect other people, and she has these dreams of wanting to be stronger. She's easy to root for. And yes, her selflessness does technically push that a little further. So when you finally get the two of them come together, conveniently, it's like, yes, finally. And then it does this crazy, awesome action scene, killing this big, huge, double-headed bear, jumping around it and swooping underneath it. It was really great action. The animation was top notch. And while unfortunately the second episode isn't to those standards, it does seem like they're putting a lot of effort into the animation and a lot of these action scenes. But it seems like really the crux of the first two episodes, what I've gotten from this story so far is really an emphasis on the Black Cat tribe. It seems like everybody looks down upon them. They're stinky, they never evolve, they're terrible, they're weak, and everybody just looks down upon them. Even these thugs in the Adventure Guild were joking about the fact that they burn Black Cat tribe members on the battlefield. And this other guy is just like, I'm gonna cut your head off and sell it, but it probably won't sell because it's stinky. These people really do see the Black Cats as kind of less, like, not even human, not intelligent, not worth a life. And I'm kind of glad that Fran isn't, like, just completely oblivious to it. It seemed like she was kind of oblivious in the first episode. It was a lot of jokes about the fact that Shisho can't figure out what Fran is thinking. So the first time she grabs him and he's talking to her mind, he's like, you know, you don't look shocked. And she's like, I am shocked. And then later on, he's like, you know, you need to calm down. He's like, I am calm. Like, it's like her facial expressions barely match what she's thinking. She's super cute in that regard. And I think a lot of that humor is coming from that, and the fact that, yes, she does look excited every now and then, but she's hard to read at times, and I think that's super cute. And they've already kind of established this idea that Shisho, alongside Fran, believes that one day she's so cute and stuff that people are going to be all after her. And he's like, I'm just not going to let anybody touch her. Like, it's almost like Shisho's already turned into almost a parental figure for Fran, which I think is super cute. Which, let's be honest, we would all be in the same boat. We would all want to protect Fran's smile. I will say the mechanics behind Shisho and Fran is really interesting. Despite the fact that I hated that whole beginning segment of him building up, it made sense to what we're doing here. This is this 12-year-old girl that literally has no strength, has no ability to fight. She does have drive, but she doesn't have ability and she doesn't have equipment. And he's pretty much giving her both of those. He's able to transfer everything to her. So she has mastery in swords, she has spell casting and everything. This is what kind of freaks them out when they have this trial, is she's essentially, he's casting spells, but she's using sword skills at the same time. So them combined is really interesting. It will be interesting to later on to see, and we're probably going to eventually get this, I have no doubts. What will happen if Fran does drop Shisho? What, does she still have capabilities despite not wielding him? Or is everything that she get only when she wields it? It could create an interesting dynamic that if somebody does steal Shisho, they're able to steal the abilities as well. I highly doubt it. I think it's only when they're actually equipped, you know, pretty much partied, and he's able to apply those to her. But I think one of the interesting elements they're trying to get into, especially with the second episode, again, establishing that everybody looks down upon the Black Cats. And I'm curious if we're going to get this thing where Fran, through her adventures with Shisho, is going to change that perspective. Obviously, if she does a really incredible job as an adventurer, it's going to up everybody's perspective of her. I think at the end of the first episode, they kind of indicated these goblins that she struck in the second episode are all going to kind of build up and attack the town. And so she's obviously going to probably save the town by taking them all out. And that will overall, at least within this village, change that perspective, because it seems like every 2 seconds they're trying to reemphasize that nobody likes black cats. Like, even when she's on the carriage coming to the town, this guy's constantly, this black cat. It's just kind of annoying. And yeah, sure enough, when they come in, people are making fun of her. Goes into the Adventure Guild, everybody's looking at her suspiciously. And I think that's going to be great to have that moment where she finally does shine. But again, I do like that. I completely walked away from this conversation. I do like the aspect that she's not just sitting there and going, oh, they're making fun of me again, I'm used to it. No, she gets mad. Like, she's like, don't, defame the black cats. And she chops this guy's legs off over it. Like, she gets mad. And I do like that. I like that she has emotion. It felt like she was going to be emotionless, but no, she's actually got emotion. It seems like overall she doesn't really, yes, she gets excited here and there, but she doesn't really show it that much. But it's not until somebody talks about something besides her that angers her. Her tribe, her family, that's her limit. That's where she doesn't let it slide. All the humor so far is really hitting for me. Like I said, the whole him not being able to read her, get the stuff out of the pouch, but make sure that get the stuff out of the dimensional pocket, but make sure it looks like you're getting it out of the bag. It just kind of dumps out. It is interesting to note that they kind of already acknowledged that the problems within everywhere is due to his actions. So all these monsters are moving and migrating and probably going to be obviously attacking this particular village, all because he's basically killed all these really strong monsters, and everything's fleeing or migrating to different areas. But yeah, really interested to see where this goes. Obviously, Fran has already won the heart of Nell, the guild lady, and several people in the particular adventure guild. So it does seem like Fran's already changing the hearts of people, and that's awesome. I want to see Fran happy, Fran smile forever. It's pretty much the only reason I'm watching this show is for Fran. The sword's just kind of there to make Fran super powerful. That's the cool dynamic, and pretty much what I was expecting with this series is I was gonna like Fran, and he's just going to be there to power her up. But we'll see where it goes from here. I'm kind of glad that I watched the second episode just to get a bigger picture on what's going on here, and I'm not going to go out of my way to keep watching the following episode from other means. I'll probably just wait for High Dive to get caught up again, and I'll continue it from that point. This isn't a show that I'm going to say is incredible in any way. It's not a show I'm saying, please go out and watch this now. It's just a show that I think if you like Fran, if you like her character design, she's super cute, cat girl, you'll probably enjoy it. It has some decent action in there. If you're like one of those super high geeks on gaining skills and stuff like that, for sure watch the show. But it isn't really necessarily so far doing anything that's going to make it stand out from any other isekai. It's a power fantasy, but instead of a person isekai as an OP person, he's making somebody OP. I will say that it is pretty violent so far. Like, from the first episode, this bear is ripping people to shreds and chomping on their body parts on frame. So I was kind of curious how dark it would continue to be, and about all we got dark-wise in the second episode was her cutting off the legs of this guy. So it does seem like it's going to get slightly violent on the side, but we'll see from here. Anyhow, again, that's my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Reincarnated as a Sword. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the series. Did you check out the first episode and you dropped it? And what is my thoughts on the second episode? Does that change your mind? Like I said, I kind of decided to do 2 episode impressions because I was just seeing too many people saying, I'm done with this. So I just kind of wanted to give people perspective of the second episode and what to expect going forward. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, top lists, first impressions of all the shows this season. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more and you like what I do, go down there, go to that Patreon link, go to our tips link, or hit that super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody considers, and y'all take care.